we're going to be factoring trinomials when there is a number in front, so a is greater than 1. When you start this process, you want to take the 3 and the 5, so the first number and the back number, and multiply them together. So 3 times negative 5 is going to give me a negative 15. So then look at the middle number, just like our other process, and we're going to find factors of that number 15 that add to give us negative 2. So I make the little list, 1 times 15, 3 times 5, and the one that could give me a 2 by addition or subtraction is 3 and 5. So it needs to give me a negative 2 when I add, a negative 15 when I multiply. So 3 times negative 5 and 3 plus negative 5. So what we're going to do now is called splitting the middle term. So I'm going to take that number, the positive 3, and I'm going to put positive 3p because I'm splitting negative 2p. And then I'm going to use my other number, which is negative 5, so I'm going to put minus 5p. Don't forget your p's, pp. Bring down everything else, so bring down the 3p squared. Don't forget your plus in front of that, 3p minus 5p. Bring down that negative 5. And then we're going to group, okay? So we're going to make sure we put the first 2 in parentheses, the second 2 in parentheses, and if there's a minus in front of that, where that 5p is, bring the minus inside of the parentheses with you, or else it's going to mess you up. So then we're just going to find our GCF of the first part. So when we look, we find 3 and 3, so that's a greatest common factor. And then if we look at the p squared and the p, then I find that p is my greatest common factor. So I'm going to bring the 3p on the outside, and what's left is just 1p. And then just 1 on the other side of that. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to find my GCF of that second set of parentheses, and I'm going to look at the 5s, and I'm going to say that negative 5 is my GCF because that first 5 is negative, so you always want to make the GCF negative if that first number is negative. And then what's left is p plus 1, just like that other set of parentheses. That's important. They'll always match if you did it right, so make sure you do it right. Once you're at this point of the game, you are so close to being done. So you are going to bring out the outsides and put them in one set of parentheses by themselves. So 3p and then the minus 5 go together. And then the matching parentheses, you're going to put them in one set of parentheses and p plus 1. And that's your answer if you factored. Okay? If you have to solve, then you're just going to set both parentheses equal to 0. And then you are going to solve the two-step equation. P equals 5/3 and P equals negative 1. All done. Okay, exemple numéro 2. So we can have 2n squared plus 3n minus 9. And we are going to multiply a times c, so 2 times negative 9, that's going to give me negative 18. I got to find factors of negative 18 that add to give me positive 3. 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6, 4 times nothing, 5 times nothing, 6 times 3 already there, so I'm done with my list. And find which one's going to give me a positive 3. Not 1 and 18, not 2 and 9, but 3 and 6. If I said 6 minus 3, it would give me a plus 3 when I subtracted them. And a negative 18 when I multiplied negative 3 times positive 6. Negative 3 plus positive 6. That's my magic combo. So I'm going to split the middle term. So instead of 3n, I'm going to say negative 3n plus 6n. It's the same thing, it just looks different. Then bring down the other 2. Bring down that negative 9. Bring down the 2n squared. then we're gonna group. Okay, put the first two in parentheses, the second two in parentheses. Make sure there's a plus in the middle, and then find you that magical GCF from the first pair. Nothing in common between 2 and 3, but between n squared and n, I can find an n in common. So then I take it out and just the 2n is left instead of 2n squared. And then just the 3 is left and the n, I took it out. Alright, I'm going to do the second one a little bit slower. So we're looking for the GCF inside of 6n minus 9. So first look at your numbers. Look at the 6, look at the 9, and find what's the greatest common factor. Well, inside of 6 and 9, there's a 3. So I bring the 3 on the outside. Then look at your variables. There's an n with the 6n, but there's no n with the 9. So that means that the only GCF is just 3. So I bring that 3 to the outside, and then I figure out what's left on the inside. If I took a 3 out of a 6 by division, that's going to leave me with 2. I didn't take an n out, so that n has to stay inside the parentheses. When I take a 3 out of a 9, that's going to leave me with 3. And there was nothing else to take out. So notice that your parentheses match. 2n minus 3, 2n minus 3. That's how you know you're doing it right. So then life becomes real easy. Bring the n and the 3, the n plus 3, inside their own set of parentheses. And then slide together those two matching parentheses just to make one parenthesis. Okay? And then that's it. You factored. If you have to solve, you're going to set each parentheses equal to 0. n plus 3 equals 0. 2n minus 3 equals 0. And then solve. n equals negative 3. n equals positive 3 halves. Like magic. So that brings us to ejemplo número 3, like tres leches. We have 3n squared minus 8n plus 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. I need to find factors of 12 that are going to give me negative 8 when I add or when I subtract, right? So let's find that list of factors of 12. 1 times 12. 2 times 6, 3 times 4, 4 times 3, which is already there, so that's how I know I'm done with my list. And then, which one's going to give me an 8? Well, 2 and 6 are going to give me an 8, right? When I add them. But tricky, they got to add to give you a negative 8, multiply to give you positive 12. So both your numbers have to be negative. Negative times a negative gives you that positive 12. Negative plus a negative gives you that negative 8 in the middle. So then you're going to split your middle term. Negative 2 minus 6n instead of that negative 8. And then bring down everything else. Bring down the 4. Bring down the 3n squared. You're going to group now. Put the first 2 in parentheses. Put the second 2 in parentheses. Bring the minus inside the parentheses. Okay? So you don't mess that up. And then you're going to find a wonderful GCF. Between 3 and 2, nothing. But between n squared and n, just an n. So what's left is going to be a 3 and just one n on the inside. And then just the negative 2 because I took the n on the outside. And then between negative 6 and 4, the GCF is going to be negative 2. Negative because that 6, that first number is negative. So bring out a negative. When you take that out, the n is going to be left there with the 3. So 3n. And then pay attention because you took out a negative out of a positive 4. That's going to leave you with a negative 2 instead. And that matches. So that's exactly what we want. So I'm going to say n minus 2, bring the outsides into one parenthesis, slide together the matching parentheses, and you just factor the trinomial. So then if you got to solve that trinomial, you got to set both those factors equal to 0 and solve the equation. So n minus 2 equals 0, and then 3n minus 2 equals 0. So you're going to get two answers, n equals positive 2 and n equals 2/3. All right. Thanks for watching A Good Angle. If you need some more help with factoring a GCF out first, you can click on this video and it'll show you how. Later.